From stories around the world to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. A pleasant evening. I'm Dilanjali Ananda.
Good evening, I'm Clifford Richards. First of all, we take a look at the headlines.
The daughter of the COVID-19 infected patient identified from Dulapitia tests positive for the disease. Close to 500 persons in Minuangoda and Dulapitia directed to quarantine. The Director General of Health requests the residents of Gampaha to undertake PCR tests if they show any symptoms of fever. School holidays begin tomorrow. The President emphasizes that ensuring national security is the first and foremost responsibility of his government. The Prime Minister issues a statement citing that the opposition is propagating false claims on the 20th Amendment. And US President Trump says the next couple of days will be the real test over his health.
And we begin with the top story for tonight. The daughter of the COVID-19 infected patient identified from Dulapitia area has been tested positive for the novel coronavirus disease. It was confirmed after carrying out a PCR test at the Habradu quarantine center. The close contacts and family members of the COVID-19 infected patient have been directed to quarantine at present. This 39-year-old woman residing in Bombugammana, Dulapitia area has been identified to be infected with COVID-19. She was tested positive for the new coronavirus disease yesterday. She had received treatment from a medical center in the area on September 28th due to an ailment. Subsequently, she was admitted to the Gampaha hospital due to respiratory disease conditions. However, she was tested positive for COVID-19 during a PCR test conducted at the hospital. The Ministry of Health has indicated that the newly identified patient was then shifted to the infectious disease hospital in Angoda. The close contacts and family members of the new COVID-19 patient were directed to Sri Lanka Army-operated Habradu quarantine center last night. Passengers of the bus belonging to the private factory in which she travelled have also been directed to self-quarantine. The management of the factory has decided to close down the factory until further notice. Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva said that measures have been taken to direct the family members and close contacts of the family to quarantine. At present, meanwhile, he added that others may have contacted with the COVID-19 patient have also been directed for self-quarantine last night. He said that all identified contacts of the COVID-19 patient have been directed to quarantine with the support from the Sri Lanka Army. Meanwhile, in a statement issued by the Director General of Government Information Department, Nalaka Kalueva, a total of 15 staff members of the Gampaha hospital have been directed to quarantine. In a media statement, the management of the factory has indicated that all necessary precautionary measures, including disinfection of the factory premises, have already been taken place under the instructions of the health authorities. Under the prevailing condition in the Gampaha district, a police curfew has been imposed in Veyangoda, Dulapitia and Minuangoda police divisions until further notice. Movement in and out and also across the areas have been prohibited. Meanwhile, DIG Ajit Rohana has requested the public to adhere to curfew-imposed regulations in these areas and to extend their full support for the police as well as the public health inspectors. He also requested all shop and trading activities to be closed down during this period. He added that the residents of these areas have already been directed to their support measures.
සහයෝගය අපි උපරිම වශයෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු කියලා ඒවා ඊටාම තදින් සෞඛ්‍ය අංශ මගින් නැවත පරීක්ෂණයකට ලක් කරනවා මේ අංශ මේ සෞඛ්‍ය අංශ කියලා තියෙන විදිහටද තම තමන්ගේ වෘත්තීන් තම තමන්ගේ ආයතන ඒ සියල්ල කටයුතු කරන්න කියලා ඒ වගේම මේ රටේ ජනතාවගෙන් ගෞරවයෙන් ඉල්ලා හිටිනවා.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education has decided to commence the second term of school holidays from tomorrow. The school holiday was scheduled to be commenced from October 9th. University of Kalani Vikramarachi Ayurvedic Institute in Yakkala and Institute of Advanced Technological Education in Naivala have been closed until further notice. Also conducting of tuition classes in Gampaha districts have been suspended. In the meantime, personnel attached to the Forces and Civil Defence Corps residing in Minuangud and Diulapitia have been informed not to report for duty until further notice. Personnel attached to Tri-Forces and Civil Defence Corps in other areas of the Gampaha district, apart from the above-mentioned areas, have been informed not to report for duty tomorrow. Sri Lanka Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva has instructed the security forces personnel who are currently in camps to remain in their respective camps. Meanwhile, Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration and Local Government J.J. Ratnasiri has informed the public day of the state officers will not be carried out due to the prevailing situation. A statement issued by the Government Information Department has informed that the next public day will be notified on a later date. Also, the duty-free shops in the arrival and departure terminals will be closed until further notice. Meanwhile, a special discussion was held at the Diulapitia Divisional Secretariat today to discuss the future measures to be taken with the identification of the new COVID-19 patient. The meeting was held in the presence of State Minister Indika Anuruddha. The attention was directed on measures to be taken on the distribution of essential services and identification of close contacts of the new COVID-19 patient. Meanwhile, the Director General of Health, S. Sridharan, has requested the residents in Gampaha to undertake PCR tests if they show any symptoms of fever.
Chief Epidemiologist of the Health Ministry, Dr. Sudat Samaravira, also issued a statement over the prevailing situation arisen with the detection of the newly identified COVID-19 patient from Diulapitia.
Years old female from Diulapiti area who was admitted to the District General Hospital Gampaha on 30th September, found to be COVID infected and diagnosed yesterday. Right now that she is at the Infectious Disease Hospital Angoda for the treatment, and we have identified all her family members and other contacts where she is working, that in Minu Angoda, and now they are under quarantining and doing PCR testing, and also to identify whether there are any more cases in these workplaces as well as in the society, in the community, in the village, in the area, that we will be doing more and more PCR testing in the area to detect that in coming days. This is a classic example, the behavior of the COVID-19, that at any time from the society we will be detecting this type of cases that has been missed out or that is spilled into the society, and because of that public should be aware about this phenomenon, and also they should adhere to the health guideline to avoid any community transmission that is happening from this type of cases. That this include that the people should avoid as much as possible unnecessary gatherings coming into the society, should stay at home as much as possible, and also when they are coming to the society should maintain 1 meter distance, and also should wear a face mask properly, and also should wash their hands with soap and water frequently. If they are doing this, if the committee is doing these things, it is very helpful for us to control COVID-19. As well as if the person is having respiratory-like symptoms, should avoid coming to the society, should stay at home until they are getting cured. Also the institutions or the schools or somewhere else that where people are coming from different places should be watchful, and if the person is having fever and other respiratory symptoms, that they should be isolated, they should be sent back home, and if there are more and more cases reporting in a place like this, and they should inform the health authorities, especially to the medical officer of health or the public health inspector of the area, to investigate it and to do sampling if it is necessary. If all the people are doing their part, I think that Sri Lanka will be safe. Actually, the current case that we are reporting after 2 months from the last case that is reported from the society, and actually this type of cases can come in future also, and because of that, if we don't detect it early and we don't do the control measures, this type of cases can lead to community transmission. So what we have to do is that we are doing the contact tracing, rapidly quarantining them, and doing the PCR testing to identify all the cases and control it. As well as the public should aware about this, and they should do their part. That is that they should stay at their home, and also that wear face masks, washing their hands, keeping the distance at all the time, that these measures are very essential, then we can control.
Well, still on the same topic, COVID-19, we have a global update about the pandemic. We move to the US. First, President Donald Trump told Americans from his hospital room that the next few days will be the real test of his treatment for COVID-19 after a series of contradictory measures or messages from the White House caused widespread confusion about his condition.
A crowd of President Trump's supporters gathered outside the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center on Saturday night, waving flags and voicing support for the president. And according to Trump himself, they should be feeling positive. In a 4-minute video posted on Twitter, the president said he, quote, wasn't feeling so well when he was admitted to the hospital on Friday, but said he was now feeling much better.
So I just want to tell you that I'm starting to feel good. You don't know over the next period of a few days. I guess that's the real test. So we'll be seeing what happens over those next couple of days.
White House photos show the president working while at the medical center. It follows a day of mixed messages on Saturday, when a team of White House doctors presented a relatively rosy assessment of the president's condition. But his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, said the president's, quote, vitals over the last 24 hours were very concerning, adding the next 48 hours would be, quote, critical. Meadows, whose initial comments were delivered on condition that he not be identified, altered his tone hours later, saying Trump was doing very well and that, quote, doctors are very pleased with his vital signs.
And diverting towards India, India's death toll from the novel coronavirus rose past 100,000 yesterday, only the third country in the world to reach that bleak milestone after the United States and Brazil, and its epidemic shows no sign of abating.
India passed a grim milestone Saturday as its death toll from COVID-19 soared past 100,000. It's the third country after the United States and Brazil to record more than 100,000 deaths, and its epidemic shows no sign of abating. The country's health ministry said total deaths rose to 100,842, while the tally of infections climbed to 6.47 million after a daily increase in cases of 79,476. India now has the highest rate of daily increase in infections in the world. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government is continuing to push ahead with a full opening of the country. Cinemas were allowed to reopen at half capacity this week, and authorities can decide to reopen schools from mid-October. Health experts say with the country heading into winter and the Hindu festival of Diwali next month, the world's second most populous country could see another jump in cases. The United States, Brazil and India together account for nearly 45% of all COVID-19 deaths globally. Death rates in India, however, have been significantly lower than in the other two countries, raising questions about the accuracy of its data.
Welcome back, and coming back home, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa emphasizes that ensuring national security is the first and the foremost responsibility of his government. The president, in a post shared on Facebook, has mentioned that he is not prepared to hand over the power of arresting or arbitrarily releasing people to politicians as in the past. The arrest of the brother of former Minister Riyadh Badiuddin, was made by officers attached to the CID in Puttalam on April 14th. He was taken into custody over alleged links to the Easter Sunday attacks. Police media spokesman SSP Jalia Senaratne revealed many evidences over Riyadh Badiuddin in the aftermath of his arrest. The court then permitted the CID to carry out the relevant interrogations under detention orders. The CID released Riyadh Badiuddin recently, approximately after 5 months. Many views and opinions were shared by various entities on media as well as social media. Directing his attention on these views and comments, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa made these comments on his Facebook account. Quote, In his Facebook post, the president highlighted that ensuring national security is the first and foremost responsibility of his government. The post further indicated that he is not prepared to hand over the power of arresting or arbitrarily releasing people to politicians as it happened in the past. He also mentioned that he would take actions to rectify any omissions or mistakes made by the relevant authorities or officials. In his post, he emphasized that the government has not entered into any political deal with the parliamentarian Rishad Badiuddin. Furthermore, he assured the citizens that he would not forsake the trust that they have placed in him and would most certainly continue to work towards strengthening the built trust.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the opposition is attempting to propagate a false claim, citing that the 20th Amendment seeks to remove the Presidential Secretariat and the Office of the Prime Minister from the purview of the Auditor General. Issuing a statement, the Prime Minister has pointed out that from the inception of the 1978 Constitution, the Presidential Secretariat and the Prime Minister's Office have been under the purview of the Auditor General. Presidential Secretariat and the Prime Minister's Office have been under the purview of the Auditor General. The phrase all departments of government in Article 154(1) of the pre-19th Amendment Constitution brought the Presidential Secretariat and the Prime Minister's Office under the purview of the Auditor General. According to the statement, these institutions were always listed as government departments in the government financial regulations. The statement has further indicated that apart from these two institutions, even the Office of Former Presidents is listed as a separate government department, and all these institutions were always audited by the Auditor General. The inclusion of the Presidential Secretariat and the Office of the Prime Minister by name in Article 154(1) by the 19th Amendment has not achieved anything new. The statement further indicated that even after the 20th Amendment reinstated that the old Article 154(1), which existed from the inception of the 1978 Constitution, in place of the called changes made by the 19th Amendment, the Presidential Secretariat and the Prime Minister's Office will continue to remain within the purview of the Auditor General. Over the past decades, it is the Auditor General who audited the Presidential Secretariat and the Prime Minister's Office and not some private audit firm. The statement has indicated that the opposition has been attempting to propagate the view that the Auditor General's powers would be reduced by the proposed 20th Amendment. One of the false claims being made is that the 19th Amendment set up an audit commission and that the 20th Amendment seeks to abolish it. What the 19th Amendment made provision for was not an audit commission but only an audit service commission. The Audit Service Commission does not carry out any auditing functions as it handles matters including the appointment, promotion, transfer and disciplinary control of members of the State Audit Service. Usually, such matters pertaining to the government servants are dealt with by the Public Service Commission. All that the creation of the Audit Service Commission achieved was to set up yet another commission to carry out the work that has been carried out by the Public Service Commission. In his statement, the Prime Minister dismissed another false claim made by the opposition is that the state-owned companies will be removed from the purview of the Auditor General by the 20th Amendment. It has also been claimed that the opposition that the 19th Amendment had stipulated that the Auditor General should be a qualified auditor and that when the 20th Amendment reinstates the old pre-19th Amendment, Article 1531, this qualification requirement will be dropped and hence, after the 20th Amendment is passed, even an unqualified person can be appointed as Auditor General. Constitutions are written on the assumption that those reading it will have basic common sense. The statement of the Prime Minister indicated that the Constitution does not state anywhere that the person appointed as Attorney General or as a Supreme Court judge has to be a qualified lawyer. The statement has further indicated that those appointed as Attorney General, Auditor General or a Supreme Court judge will always have the required educational and professional qualifications without which they cannot function in those positions. The statement was further said that the 20th Amendment sought to replace the changes made to the provisions relating to the Auditor General by the 19th Amendment with the provisions that existed before the 19th Amendment. The Prime Minister's statement has further indicated that the opposition has been unhesitatingly making false claims with regard to this matter due to the confidence that most people would not be familiar with these obscure provisions of the Constitution. According to the statement, has said that it is the duty of the nation to understand the facts of the matter and to defeat the unprincipled attempt being made by the opposition mislead people.
Well, challenges are faced by everyone in their lives. And we have a very remarkable story about 4 women, namely Padmini, Kumudini, Champa and Kumari, blessed with great self-confidence. Well, these 4 visually impaired women work in Apeksha Textile Institute and they design ladies' garments. The owner of the Sewing Institute has said that although it was a great challenge for her to conduct the training for them, these 4 women have faced their challenges successfully, conquering all obstacles and challenges with dedication and self-confidence. They teach a valuable lesson for all of us. Lesson is to embark the journey of life in any avenue available for you with great determination and passion to achieve success without lamenting over trivial matters.
The police special task force has been successful in apprehending associates of the Ratmalane Roha who succumbed during the shooting with the police recently. The suspects were taken into custody yesterday following a tip-off received by the police. The STF was able to apprehend 225 T20 ammunitions, 4 9mm bullets and 3 8mm bullets. Those bullets were found at the premises of the main suspect residing in Devata Road, Ratmalana. Other suspects were residing in Kaldamula area. Preliminary investigations have revealed that the suspects had taken part in a party in Nuwara Eliya district organized by the main suspect Ratmalane Roha in the recent past. The STF was also able to apprehend 2 associates of organized criminal alias Rala, who was engaged in criminal activities in Ratnapura, Kahawata and Dambulwana areas. 2 firearms, 8 ammunitions and 2 swords were also found with the presence of this suspect.
Well, the national television, a pioneer in telecasting high-quality teledramas to the nation, is set to bring 2 new teledramas for the entertainment of viewers. Rumansala, a program to launch new dramas, was held at the Apegama premises recently. Well, this event was held under the patronage of Minister Kelia Ramukwela, Secretary to the Ministry of Mass Media Jagat P. Vijayveera, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation Dr. Nihal Jayatilaka and its Director General Ajith Naragala. They were also present at this occasion. The national television was awarded the Best Teledrama Channel and the Channel of the Year awards at the recently held Raigam Telly's Awards ceremony. New dramas will telecast on national television from tomorrow. These teledramas will be telecast from Monday to Thursday at 8:30 p.m. while Can You Hear Me teledrama will telecast at 9 p.m. on same days.
අපට ජාතික වශයෙන් වටිනාකමක් ඇති සංස්කෘතික වශයෙන් වටිනාකමක් ඇති දායාදයක් අපි රටට ලබා දෙනකොට ඒ වෙනුවෙන් අපිට යම්කිසි කැපවීමක් කරන්නට වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ලාභ අලාභ කියන දේ ඒ වෙනුවෙන් කැප කරත් අපේ ජාතික වටිනාකමක් ඇති වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන අතර තරඟකාරීත්වය තුළ අනිකුත් නාලිකාවන් සමග ඒ තරඟයට අනුගත නොවි තමාගේ යුතුයකම සහ වගකීම ඊට වඩා ඉහළින් තියලා කටයුතු කරනවා නම් හොඳයි කියන එකයි මම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ. මම හිතනවා ජාතික රූපවාහිනියේ කාර්යය අකුරටම සිද්ධ කරනවා.
යම් යම් පාඩු සිදු වෙන්නට පුළුවන්, යම් යම් සිත්තමාරු සිදු වෙන්නට පුළුවන්. නමුත් ඒ සියලු දේ මැද්දේ ජාතික සංවර්ධනය, ජාතික මනෝ සංවර්ධනය, ජාතික සාරධර්ම සංවර්ධනය අපේ දූ දරුවන්ගේ අති මහත් වූ වගකීමකට යටත් වන ඒ මනෝ සංවර්ධනයට අපි ජාතික නාලිකාවක් වශයෙන් වගකියව යුතුයි කියන ඒ මූල ධර්මය අපි හිත තබා ගන්නට ඕන.
රයිගම් ටෙලිනාට්‍ය සම්මාන උළෙලෙදී පිරිනැමුණු සම්මාන 45න් 20ක්ම දිනාගන්න පුළුවන් වුණා ජාතික නාලිකාව විදිහට ජාතික රූපවාහිනියට. ඒ නිසාම වසරේ සම්මානනීය නාලිකාව බවට ජාතික රූපවාහිනිය පත් වුණා. මේක විශේෂ තත්වයක් අපිට ඉතාමත්ම සන්තෝෂ වෙන්න පුළුවන් තත්වයක්. විවිධ අභියෝග මැදින් විවිධ දුෂ්කරතා මැදින් ඉදිරියට ආපු ජාතික නාලිකාව ජාතික වගකීම මනාව ඉටු කොල්ලා තියෙන බව තමයි ඒ සම්මාන උළෙලෙදී පැහැදිලි වුණේ.
And moving on with more local stories, the government's program to cultivate maize in 10,000 hectares of Mahavali land has commenced yesterday. The program was initiated from Valio area of the Mahavali L zone. Well, under the first phase, maize will be cultivated in 3,000 hectares. The ceremonial proceedings to cultivate maize was commenced under the patronage of State Minister Siripala Gamlat. The annual requirement of maize in Sri Lanka is 500,000 metric tons. Only 250,000 metric tons are being cultivated in Sri Lanka. At present, Sri Lanka spends around 40 million rupees to import corn annually. Well, time for us to run out of the studio. And that's the end of the news. Do enjoy the rest of the program. Take care and good night.
Good night.